Alright, so hey YouTube. So I promised some YouTube users I would do this video. Because sometimes I forget that everyone's coming from this from different perspectives and different angles and different sources of knowledge. So they were asking me, about DMT and compared to, like, for instance, marijuana or something. But what happens is they're not even close to the same compound. I mean, not even the same universe, for instance. DMT, I'll make one, two, and okay, so this is DMT. And all it is DMT is C12 N2H16. Actually, should have probably been written like this: C12H16 N2. Doesn't really matter though. But what is this saying in real life? Well, basically, all this means it has 12 carbons, 16 hydrogens, 2 nitrogens. And each one of these, where this intersection comes together, represent a carbon. And then obviously you have your 2 nitrogens. And when you don't see anything, it's just assumed they're hydrogens. For instance, like this is really this. This is really a carbon with a hydrogen, and a hydrogen. This has a carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. This has a hydrogen. And it's always makes to 4 bonds because a carbon can hold 4 bonds. So that's all it is. So for instance, like tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, is a whole different structure. And every time you even change one little atom, it completely changes the configuration of the molecule and how it affects you as a being. So they're not even close to the same molecule. A matter of fact, DMT, it's not, it isn't, your body doesn't build up an addiction towards it, like an amphetamine family. So it isn't something that you become addicted to at all. And then it becomes, well, why is it illegal then? And that would be for other videos, because that would take more than just a simple thing. So, okay, DMT. Now, where is it in life? Yes, you've heard it's in all living mammals, but outside of mammals, where can it be found? Well, it's in so many plants and bushes and flowers and leaves, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, the most common is, you might have heard of the mimosa hostel root bark. I'm just going to call it root bark. And the root bark contains, about 0.3 through 0.6%. So it contains less than 1%. That's why you need such vast quantities of the actual root bark to extract what you need to extract, because it contains less than 1% by volume. Now, there are some plants that have more. At my house, I know there's a grass that has substantial more, but I don't have that book here. So I'm going to pronounce this wrong. So I know, for instance, like this. And I'm embarrassed. I don't even know if that's spelled right. If that's an A that I just put in there. This right here, I don't know. But this contains like about, what is it, 1.7 through 1.75. I read percent, which is, that's a heck of a lot higher percentage. And you're going to do the extractions the same way, but anyway, okay. So you can find it all over, okay. But is it like a leaf that I just roll up and smoke like marijuana, or what do you? I mean, so many rumors out there. Well, no, it isn't. There's 3 typical ways that DMT is ingested or found, or, well, there's more than 3, but typical. There's the first, we'll go from obscurity first. It's going to be a snuff. In Africa, they take it in a snuff and they inhale it, and then like a bamboo, then they blow it through the nose of the opposing person. And the snuff, it is still an extraction. I haven't really looked at it, to be honest with you, so I'm just going to say it's a snuff. It's not that common. And the snuff lasts like 15 through 30 minutes. Then there is the ayahuasca. I think I spelled that wrong, and that is shame on me. In ayahuasca, what ayahuasca is, ayahuasca is a mix between, it's typically found in South America, and then shamans take it. Not just shamans, there's churches, a bunch of other things. But what ayahuasca is basically this. Now, these are all DMT. It's just the same compound formed in different states. So ayahuasca, it's a brew, and it takes about 12 hours to brew. And it has to be at about an exact set temperature. for the molecules to be able to bind in the way that they're binding. And all this is this. A lot of people know you cannot ingest DMT orally because your stomach has MAO inhibitors, and all that stands for is monoamine oxidase, and they just eat up their enzymes that basically just eat up the DMT before it allows it to make it through the blood-brain barrier into your brain. So they metabolize it, not eat them up, but same thing. And so what happens is you have a leaf of a tree, and then you have the bark of another. And the bark contains an MAO inhibitor, which it inhibits your MAOs in your stomach, which allows the DMT to be ingested orally. And then then you have the snuff. And then the most common form is you have the smokable, which is the freebase. Now, yes, there's an injectable, but the injectable can come from the smokable. It's just stored differently. So the smokable is just basically where you have your crystal. And this is where you have your white crystal. Now, a lot of people know it as a yellow crystal, but actually the yellow is a lot of impurities, some organic compounds. It should be more of a clearish whitish if it's pure. But this one lasts, I don't know, 8 through 14 hours. This one's going to last from 15 through 30 minutes. And in your smokable form is extracted from plants. None of it can just be like rolled up or anything like that. It has to literally, you have to have your bark or your trees that contain the molecule in there, and then you have to extract it out into a form that is ingestible for the human consumption. Except a lot of times when you do extract it and you get it into its crystal form, DMT is very hydrophobic, and what that means is it loves to absorb water molecules. And so that's why a lot of times its shelf life, which means how long is it good for, isn't that great, because it just absorbs water and it turns into a moon. So a lot of times it'll actually be held in a different form. It'll be held in a fumarate form, which is just basically, instead of the chloride crystal, salt. In a furate salt, sorry, not form. Well, it's a salt because it's less hydrophobic. It's a lot more stable, and it can be converted to its free base pretty simply. So basically, those are your quick forms, and how long they last. And now it's all the same compound: ayahuasca, DMT, the snuff. It all carries the same molecule in it, and so it has different names, but it's the same molecule. And I want to touch one base thing real quick. Yes, there are many different extraction forms, but many of them are not DMT, and that's why I'm going to do this series. Because there's this one extraction that was supposed to be a simple 24-hour extraction, and it was hitting the internet everywhere. Finally, a college did step up and test it, and they found, which I'll wait until I don't want to give you all the stuff now, because I want to actually pull up the actual letters themselves from the American Chemical Society journal, and kind of go into what they found, and was there DMT, and what percent, and actually there wasn't. It was a cousin to DMT. So I want to show you that when you think you're getting what you're getting doesn't always mean you get what you're actually getting. And one molecule off can be such a substantial difference, which Alexander Shulgin goes into such depth about. I mean, if you change, he was talking about some amphetamine or certain amphetamine derivatives to where you could have a flower right here, this beautiful flower. Yes, this is a beautiful flower. Can't you see the beautiful flower that is? And you say, don't even ask how that's a flower, Brendan. It's a flower. And so what happens is, let's just say that we change. Now, this is not this example, okay? I'm just saying. If we change like this functional group right here, you can go from staring at this flowers for 12 hours and be like, this is the most beautiful flower ever, and you just stare at it. You change one functional group, and now instead of staring at it, you rip apart the entire flower. You want to understand every single thing there is about that flower. And so depending on, even one group of a molecule can shift it substantially. The best example actually is going to be THC. If you know the THC, let me actually pull it, but this is a fun, this would be a fun example. So here we go. Here's the molecule of THC right here, right? Now, if you change this functional group right here, this group right here, depending on what you change it on, it can actually increase the potency by 50 times, 200 times, 250 times, or 500 times. So by synthesizing this molecule and changing just this group right here, you can actually change the potency by 500 times, which means at that point you dilute it by water and you can control the percent to anything you want it to be, which is what they're doing in Colorado.